Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are enjoying the Maldives Marine Expo. We have some very interesting segments ahead for you to enjoy and hopefully learn from. So without further ado, we are kickstarting this off with the first keynote speaker for the day. I'd like to invite on stage professional tech diver and stage speaker, Ms. Maria Bolab, who will be speaking on the Expedition Butang, Changing the Future of Local Villages.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Maria Ballerup, and I came from Copenhagen, Denmark to speak today. I have about 15 minutes to talk about a project that's coming up in Indonesia this year. I could talk about it for 15 hours, but I'll try and keep it within the 15 minutes. Expedition Butang is happening in October this year, and we'll be heading out into a local island to work together with the government, the local villages, as well as the Indonesian University Gajah Mada. Before I get to that, I just want to quickly introduce myself. So I am a technical diver. I've been in the diving industry for the last 20 years. I work both in dive traveling, sending quite a lot of people to the Maldives, diving off local islands, young kids coming here to learn to dive. But I also work within the technical diving industry with expeditions and exploration. I want to bring you into the project of Indonesia quite quickly by starting with Robin Cuesta. So this is a Frenchman who moved to Indonesia some years ago. He is very much into cave diving, and he decided to go where there was a lot of caves that had yet not been explored. Robin contacted me at some point because he's sitting in Indonesia on his own, walking around with a machete, figuring out where there is cave. And he sent me a picture. The yellow dot is unexplored cave. So receiving an invitation to come join him as the cave diver and explorer I am, I said yes, of course, and I went and started diving with him on a trip in 2020, just before the COVID. Now I was going there for my own selfish reasons. I wanted to go and explore some caves that had not been explored before, but my story changed when I arrived in Indonesia. And I started realizing that not just was this area completely unexplored, it was also completely desolate without tourism, a lot of plastic pollution, and a lot of groundwater. Now, being in the Maldives, you might have been thinking about where does the fresh water come from that we are getting in our sinks. And it's actually coming from the ground, a lot of it, used to anyway. So these are coral islands, and they're sitting with reservoirs of fresh water, much like in Indonesia. Here in the Maldives, this water has been used again and again, but in Indonesia, it's not little islands, it's huge areas, as you see. So there is a lot of fresh water sitting there, which is one of the resources that we will be starting to lack in the future on this planet. Anyway, short story long, we were traveling around Indonesia with our dive gear, machetes and drones, and we were finding all sorts of caves. And this in itself is like a long presentation of an amazing travel. But talking to the local people, we started realizing where the water was flowing and that it was actually pristine. But wherever we actually went, in the villages, diving in the backyards, we kept finding that the caves were stopping. But there was one place that we kept coming back to that was supposed to have a water pump in it to some local villages. Now, we couldn't just go there and dive, so we hooked up with the local chief in one village and asked, can we go and dive in your fresh water? And he said, yes, you can, but you have to go and talk to the other chief of the other village. So we went and we asked, can we go dive in your drinking water? And he said, well, I don't know if anybody's drinking it, but you can, which is what you see is going on these pictures. Long story short, after trekking around Indonesia, we stumbled upon a massive cave system, which is probably some of the most stunning cave diving I've ever done. And those who are cave divers and have been diving in Mexico might be offended by that, but trust me, this is absolutely amazing. It is a fossil of a coral reef that is ancient. And once you start diving into it, you kind of dive into a mountain, and the mountain opens up into a giant cave, and it runs like a river for 1 kilometer underneath the ground. And after 1 kilometer of just snorkeling through this perfect coral fossil reef with lots of, you can see here, decorations, it drops down and then it just continues into a massive tunnel. Now, we spent 3 days in this cave by the end of our trip, and we ended up discovering 3.7 kilometers of cave, and it just keeps on going. Now, when I started this expedition, or this startup to an expedition, it was for our own selfish reasons. Like I said, we're explorers. But coming back from it, my mind kept thinking about it, thinking about all of this fresh water that was sitting on this island where people were drinking water out of plastic bottles. How could that be? How can you sit on so much fresh water and still import water? So I have to cue this guy to change the slides. So having had that in my mind for 2 years, I went on an expedition in Mexico where we were working with groundwater. We were cave diving in the jungle. We were mapping the caves. We were talking to scientists about groundwater and pollutions. And this thing just stuck in my mind. And I contacted Robin, and he's like, yeah, Maria, me too. And the local government actually wants us to map the place so we can develop it for cave diving. And I thought, well, maybe we can do a bit better than that. So this year we're going back into Indonesia. You can see on the map where we're flying into Sulawesi. And if you're zooming in, you can see we're going into an island in Sulawesi down in the southeast. And then if you come further, you can see the island of Muna. It's also called the island of 1,000 caves. Picturing Indonesia, you see all of these black dots on the map here. They're actually karst regions. Like this, they are limestone, they are ancient coral reef. And in these ancient coral reef, you have fresh water sitting. So you see on this slide, you have a coral island, like all the Maldivian islands, and you have fresh water, rainwater, just sitting here bobbing on top of the salt water. When you're looking at what's going on in Indonesia, it is, like I say, a coral fossil reef. That's important for 2 reasons. One is you have concrete companies that are digging out all of these local islands for profit, obviously. As you all know, the population on the planet is exploding, and we use this limestone concrete to build. The problem is that 7% of the emissions of the planet is coming from digging out this coral reef and then burning it into concrete. The other important thing is that these local islanders had no proper income besides asphalt and fishing and a little bit of palm trees. So having the big concrete companies dig out these islands, they also have the threat of water bottling companies that are bottling water in Indonesia and then selling it on to other islands. So something is just not matching up there. So with that in mind, we contacted the local government, said, should we do something about this? And they're like, yeah, let's protect our island. Let's be the forefront. Let's go in and see if we can make this a UNESCO geopark. So they're not allowed to drill in our land. But also, we were talking to the local Indonesian university, Gajah Mada, and they said, that's perfect. We know that there's this fresh water, but we have no science on it. We want to start a baseline that we can then put into other aquifers in Indonesia and then start, what do you call that in English? Where you put something next to each other and then compare it. And then we can compare it and see what's going on in other parts of Indonesia. So we can start preserving these environments. Oh, jumping ahead. And then lastly, we're working with the local village so they can get access to this fresh water. They have this pump. Nobody can operate it. They have one entrance. So the final goal is to go and see if we can get them fresh water instead of importing the shit. Sorry. So the team that we have is an international team of cave divers. You might recognize some of them on here. Alex Dawson is one of the best underwater photographers, in my opinion. So he'll be joining us to obviously not just take pictures of the expedition, but also to take pictures for the scientists so they can bring that into the government so the government can make it, hopefully, a UNESCO geopark, starting locally just with a geological park. Besides that, we have people like Jill Heinert and Natalie Gibb on it, and David Mayer. All of these guys have their own little role in the team. Some of them are working on the science, which would be Jill Heinert. You got David Mayer, who is one of the best underwater cartographers, who's joining our team just to map the cave. So putting together an international team of cave divers, very important for us also was to work with locals. So we're working with two amazing cave divers from Indonesia, Ari and Dita, who are also helping us with outreach into the local schools and communities. But besides our cave diving team, we also have a team of dry cavers. Now these guys are only going to be on land trying to figure out if there are more ways into this water. But they're also archaeologists and biologists, and they are so excited to go into these areas that they haven't explored yet, because on this island itself, we found the oldest cave art on the planet. Not cave paintings, but cave arts. Who judged what is art and paintings? Not me, but yeah. We also have the science team, obviously. That's an international, well, right now, this is just the Indonesian team. Dr. Iko, who's the lead scientist with the most appropriate name for a project like this, is leading his team of biologists, geomorphologists, speleologists, and all other stuff that I can't pronounce. I'm no scientist, I'm just a cave diver, and that's one of the reasons why I'm standing in front of you today, because taking your passion and using that for something that actually makes sense. You were saying earlier, diving for a purpose. It actually just, we are as professional, we are bound to do that and make change with our work and our passion. Going into Indonesia, in the middle of nowhere, doing an expedition for a month underneath the mountain is logistically a nightmare. Obviously, everything is going to be shipped out there in containers, the compressors, the tanks. We're shipping more than 80 tanks. Imagine the regulators that are going to that, the softener line, because we are all on rebreathers, getting a decompression or recompression chamber to Indonesia, and just the whole planning of emergency and food, because there's not a hotel out there. There's one governmental building that we will be building into a dorm. So the logistical aspects of this is immense. But what I'm seeing is, as we're moving forward with this, the interest is just exploding because people want change and people want to help. So we're getting so many people volunteering to help organize and build and reach out. We did go to Mexico for some training because, as I said, we finished the project at 3.7 kilometers underneath the ground. Just imagine diving that distance on open circuit. So we're bringing rebreathers in, and we're bringing scooters in. Now, we're all rebreather divers, but we had to get crossed over to this one specific unit for the task. So we went to Mexico, we flew the team out there, and then they've been training both with Rasmus Dijstedt on the units, but also with David Mayer, the mapping guy, because he will have a mapping team. And right now, there's supposed to be an awesome video of us training DPV through cave, and it looks really cool, but I don't think that's working, so we're gonna skip that. Ah, there we go. Made you want it, didn't I? So this is us playing around in a pool. Now we're gonna bring this equipment 3.7 kilometers underground, and from there on, we're gonna start the exploration. So there are push divers on the team who will start every day from the end of the line. So first day, that will be 3.7 kilometers. Next day, it will be further. Then we have the science team who will be working together with the scientists from the surface, picking up all the little different types of data that they need, everything from the creatures that are found in this cave. Because it's such an isolated little system, they believe that they will be finding new species cave-dwelling animals, but they're also looking into eDNA, which is, yeah, Earth DNA. That is going to be telling them quite a lot about environmental factors, pollutions, and yeah, environment changes, I guess. Thank you. Confirmed partners. So as I said, reaching out for a project like this, I thought we're never gonna make it. This is absolutely crazy. But people want change. So reaching out to Rolex, they have a Perpetual Planet Initiative, which is a huge project where they work with different environmental projects around the world. They're supporting us. And of course, there are different brands in the industry that are also supporting us, together with Wings World Quest, which is a exploration society for females. We also have a documentary team that wishes to join us in the jungle. We're still kind of figuring that out because it's not that easy, bringing a whole team of photographers and videographers in, and you're there in your gear walking down the stairs and somebody stops you to walk back up and then walk back down again. We can't do that out there. It's just too strenuous, the work. So we're looking at what we can do because we also want the outreach. So beside that, we're working together finally with probably the coolest part of the project. It's called Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So during the expedition, we will be broadcasting into children classrooms all over North America for a start, from the age of 9 to 14. And they'll be joining us on a virtual field trip, and they'll be able to talk to the scientists and the divers coming out of the cave. And now we're working on getting that into Indonesia as well, because obviously the universities and the local schools, wherever it is possible, which is far from many places when it comes to local children's schools, we want to outreach to them so they understand what is happening in their country and how they can help change by standing up to these massive exploitation companies of concrete and water bottling. Whew, I think that was about 15 minutes and plus minus a few. If you want to follow this project, you can do so on Facebook and Instagram. We will slowly start ramping it up. We have some amazing people on this project, and they will be talking about how it is to work on local islands together with the society to change the future. Because we can, if we bring our passion from diving into conservation of diving, it's absolutely possible, even if you're not a scientist who can't pronounce the data you're collecting. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Miss Maria. That's a wonderful project that you're working on, and a very significant one actually, considering it's dealing with one of the most natural resources that we humans need. Thank you. All right. All right. All right. So next we have the co-owner and vice president of product development, RAID International, Mr. Paul Winsett-Toomer, who is going to tell you why you should join RAID. Mr. Paul Winsett.
Good afternoon to you all. How wonderful is this, standing out in this beautiful country, this beautiful city, out in the open air. Normally I'm stuck in the back of some little room talking about our wonderful agency. So yes, my name's Paul Toomer. I was the president of RAID up until about 2 months ago, where I asked if I could be moved sideways and get my hands dirty again and become VP of product development. So I'm actually back in the training department again, which is really thrilling. First thing you should know about me and all of the RAID guys, whether it's Rifshan and Pete out here in RAID Maldives, or all of the team back at Dive RAID International, diving is in our blood. This is my little boy at about a week old inside a JJ rebreather, so his DNA is already in the scuba diving industry. I'll just give you a little bit of background about our team. So RAID is about 10 years old in its present guise. We come from all different agencies, actually. And the one thing I really want to stress is that there is a fantastic interagency relationship going on, and all agencies have got something really cool to offer. What I want to tell you is about how the RAID difference, what we do a little bit different. So first of all, we're the first 100% online training agency. I know there's many training agencies are now 100% online, but we were the first ones to do it. And I'll give you the benefits of that in a minute. We are a globally recognized training agency, so we spent a lot of time getting ourselves into member organizations like the WRSTC, which is RSTC USA, and RSTC Europe. That's the Recreational Scuba Training Council. To have any credibility as a training agency and to maintain safety standards, you really want to be using those standards as a minimum. And then we joined the ISO as well, which is, again, a global organization which deals in training standards and keeping our divers and our instructors safe. I'm very, very lucky as well that I'm one of the founding members of the Rebreather Training Council, and I've managed to work with ISO and the Rebreather Training Council to develop the new rebreather standards that we're going to be using in our industry, right? So that was really cool. I got to work with the top guys at SSI and INCD and TDI and PADI. It was absolutely brilliant. We are a store-based agency because we believe that if you're going to invest the money in a dive center, we don't want an independent instructor to come in next door to you and undermine your business, because obviously they put a lot of time and effort into that. Now here in the Maldives, I don't think independent instructors are a major thing because you're all dive center owners, but globally the independent instructor can undermine the industry or the local industry. Thank you. So our big three things that we did. The pandemic, as I'm sure all of you out there, the pandemic really, really hurt, didn't it? Our industry went off a cliff face. I was looking at the numbers at RAID, and I dare say all the other businesses in all avenues of life saw their businesses spiking, and then they announced the lockdown, and boof, we went off a cliff. So I was getting lots of calls from divers and instructors around the world asking us to do something to help them. So in actual fact, third down the list was the first initiative that we decided. We recognized that people were sat at home and they weren't able to do anything. So we thought, well, if you're an avid diver, why don't you increase your knowledge and we'll give you access to all of our materials. So if you log in, if you register with DiveRaid and you log in, there's a tab on there called Free Learning, and you can access anything from a tri-dive, open water diver, right the way through to Trimix, rebreather, cave instructor trainer. It's all free. And you can do the quizzes, and then if you feel like you want to do the course, then you can actually go and sign up on the course. But what it's done is it's allowed people during the pandemic to map out their future. So many people who are open water divers actually got the knowledge to become an instructor while the pandemic was on. It worked really well. And one of the big things about the initiatives was we wanted to future-proof RAID. So they weren't there just for the pandemic. We wanted to keep them for life. So being an instructor with multiple agencies back when I had a dive center, December the 31st rolls around, right? I come from England. It's freezing cold. Nobody's diving. We're not making any money. I've just bought the family Christmas presents, and suddenly I've got all these membership fees. So I started to think about a symbiotic relationship with the industry professionals, the dive centers, and the instructors. We looked at our figures and what we were generating from membership. We also realized that membership is not guaranteed because instructors do move from agency to agency. We know that there's a membership due date, which is generally January the 1st, but in England, people might not renew till April. And we really wanted to support the industry, and we wanted to support any professional that was interested in joining RAID. So what we came up with is we came up with a concept called zero fee membership. It's not free membership because we designed it to work with active instructors. So we don't charge an instructor membership or a dive center membership, right? And if you think about where we are now, we've just come out the pandemic. We now have a war going on in Europe. We have many wars going on everywhere else. We have inflation through the roof. Everything, as you'll see in a minute, in my opinion, is about or our opinion is about the bottom line. I received so many emails from Indonesia, Philippines, Maldives, all over the world saying that zero fee membership allowed them to teach those 1 or 2 students that they got during the year and actually stay in business. So it's, I think those three initiatives really set RAID apart from everybody else. We also want to protect our instructors and our divers. So if you imagine you go and buy an airline ticket, when you get to passport, it wants your passport number. If you don't put your passport number in, you can't get your airline ticket, right? So we have a series of events, quizzes, exams. Then you go in the water, and there's a set of skills that the instructor and the student, they see exactly the same screen, have to be ticked off. And then there's lots of quality assurance. Did you feel safe? Was your equipment good? Was your instructor with you? And all of that kind of stuff. They all tick that off, and then you can process the certification. If you miss one box, you cannot get certified. So you can imagine our instructors have always got this digital footprint of their training class, which means that if anything were to happen, they have actually got a digital record. And the student, they've got, well, I've got 5 students on this course. They've all signed off every skill. Therefore, everything was done on the course. Obviously, this is linked with a digital logbook as well, so we can prove hours and depths and times and durations. Oh, sorry, can you just go back one? Thank you. We're a paper-free agency, obviously being digital. What we did was we developed all of our online paperwork as well, so you can do your liability, your medical, your safe diving practices whenever you want, as many times as you want, and it'll be saved on our servers. Our course material, because we're digital, is easily updated. And most importantly, we're an agency that's run by divers. You cannot be working at Dive Raid International, which is headquarters, unless you're in like the art department or in information technology, of course. But if you are a vice president or one of the CFOs or CEOs, you cannot stay at Raid if you're not an active diver. And in actual fact, we've got about 4 people who are in the Explorers Club, ambassadors for various brands. We explore the entire world just like Maria does. So so why should you consider RAID? Late last year, something really important happened to us. Pete and I were chatting on the phone, and he was hanging out with a guy called Rifshan. And we started talking, and Rifshan was talking about moving his companies over to RAID. And we just took the conversation a little bit further on. Our opinion at RAID is, if you're going to move into a local market, you should have a local person on the ground, someone who understands the local people, their religious beliefs, their way of life, you know, because you can't, for example, you can't send an Englishman to a French dive center in Paris and try and sell scuba diving, right? They're going to laugh at you, okay? All right. So it was a wonderful moment. So we actually now have Maldivian representatives in the Maldives, which is wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, if you can go back. At RAID, we want your business to be first. We work for you. You don't work for us, right? Now we don't have membership. We are simply a company that sells product, like Aqualung, like Apex. We rely on the revenue from our product to increase our business. We're not asking you for anything other than that, and we want to service you. We are an inclusive agency, so we believe, for example, if you're a RAID dive center and a diver wants to finish their referral, which is very popular in the Maldives, and they're from another agency, you should not have to turn them away or make them work through these incredible hurdles to actually be with the agent with RAID. So we've developed our own global referral mechanism, and we want to be completely inclusive. We are also inclusive that if you're an instructor trainer with ABC agency, you can be an instructor trainer with us as well. We just want to involve the diving industry with RAID and try and grow it. We also feel that this logo over here is not the most important logo in the world, right? When we stick this on your shop, you're giving us free advertising. What we recognize is your logo, because you're the person that gets the customer. We talk about scuba diving and we social media and we do everything, but in actual fact, how many customers does the training agency send to your front door? You are the people going on social media. You are the people dragging the customers in the front door, and we want to support that. Your logo comes first, right? And like everything, we are very price conscious, zero fee membership, online learning for free. The bottom line, right now, after the pandemic and where we are sitting with inflation and increased fuel prices, the bottom line is what counts at the dive center now. So crossing over to RAID, very, very simple crossover. And we've based this on the fact that most professionals wandering around here are probably with an agency that is recognized by the Recreational Scuba Training Council, ISO. We recognize that 90% of the instructors around here have been through an instructor development course or program, which is very stressful, takes up a lot of time and a lot of commitment. You've put a lot of energy into becoming a scuba diving professional, and then you've gone through those 2 days of horror. That's called the instructor exam, right? I'm an avid motorcyclist. If I didn't pass my motorcycle license, it would have been bad. If I didn't pass my instructor exam, it would have been hideous, right? It would have been the worst thing that could ever have happened to me. So we recognize that you've put all this time and effort in. So we credit your instructor status. It's a very simple crossover. And during the crossover, of course, we will bring all of your instructor specialties over as well, because we actually like all the other training agencies, and we recognize that their instructor trainers are good. Courses, we offer a full, I must stress, we are a recreational training agency, right? RAID used to be the Rebreather Association of International Divers. It is not, it is Dive RAID International. You can make up what you like for RAID. I'm quite old, so you can call us the Retired Association of whatever divers, right? Okay. We have recreational open circuit. As you can see from the flowchart, full range. We do technical open circuit. We do side mount. We do twin sets, we do CCR, and of course we have a free dive division as well. And that is me. I think I've managed to do it. I think I'm 1 minute early, right? So I'm keeping this on. Thank you very, very much to the organizers of the show for inviting me all the way from England. Hats off to my RAID Maldives team. I'm really proud of you, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. I'm sure many will be inspired to join RAID after hearing your speech. Thank you. All right, so next we have the Business Development Manager of Total Energies, Mr. Victor Yee, who is going to give you a very special presentation on Total Energy lubricants.
Okay, it's fine, yeah? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Mr. Victor Yee.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of Total Energies, really I appreciate the organizers for giving us an opportunity to present our products and services over here. And today we are actually supported by our distributor, Maldives, who has the green color booth. So if you have any questions after this presentation, please feel free to check us out over there. So basically, I'll just let you know what is happening over here, as perhaps I should give even a short introduction first. My name is Victor, yes, as you have known. I've been doing this business for more than 25 years. So basically, I've seen what happens in the lubricants world. But today, before I go into the lubricant per se, I'd just like to tell you what's happening in our company. Before this, we were known as Total. But since last year, May, we have changed our name to Total Energies to reflect our involvement in the renewables. So we are right now having this, as you can see in the chart, all kinds of different energy other than that you find in the other than the oil and gas that you have normally heard about. All right, we are talking about solar, hydrogen, we're talking about LNG. So basically, this is where we want to make this environment a better one for the next generation as well. Now, just to let you know where we are today, we are number 2 in LNG business. All right, We also have made 8.1 billion in 2021. Last year, we actually did pretty good too, about 21 billion due to the high oil prices. And at the same time, I'd like to bring your attention to this, that all our products, we have actually more than 4,000 researchers doing R&D. So it's to tell you that basically the products that we supplying to the market right now is not just something that we developed long time ago, but we continue to improve on it so that we can give you the best of the performance. At the same time, this is to tell you that since we are present in Asia Pacific as well as Middle East, currently we have 6,700 employees and we are present in 44 markets. Yeah, and basically we also want to stress this, that in Asia Pacific Middle East itself, we have 29 lubricant blending plants to show you that this is the growing market that we have that we really want to be present in, and that's why we are actually having all these blend plants here. At the same time, our lost time in incident is pretty good at 0.26, which is less than 1, and we intend to keep it that way. This is just a snapshot of where we are present in the Asia Pacific market. So if it is too small, we can show you at our booth there later. Right, so coming to the lubricant industry today, sometimes people be thinking, what is actually lubricant? Is it really that important? You know, for example, if we think of lubricant as an analog to us, our blood, is our blood important? Right, it is, right? Same thing. Lubricant is just as important to your engine as in blood to our bodies. So, but before I go into that, I just like to let you know that over my years of doing this business and following up with some customers over here, what are the needs of the customer today? They need a longer lasting lubricants that give them good performance, all right? Protection equipment as well as peace of mind. Now, who wants to operate some kind of equipment when you know that it will break down someday or while you're traveling somewhere? You do not want that, correct? So this is where we come in with that peace of mind. Secondly, I also understand that there are challenges where companies have not been able to get full access of their lubricants over here. They have complained that, oh, there's this shortage, there's this logistic delay, and so forth. So we intend to give this security of supply to the customers. Then, of course, equipment reliability. This, of course, goes without saying. When your equipment is running well, it will take care of you well, all right? So we aim to do that with our products. And of course, technical support. I think one area that is severely lacking in the market today is basically the lack of knowledge of most of the operators as well as the mechanics or those who are getting involved in whether the bikes or the boats or even trucks and buses. So this is where we aim to educate the mechanics, the operators, as well as our salespeople to ensure that this knowledge is transferred to them. NAS, which is along the line of number 5, basically is to transfer this knowledge, because there is no point that we keep this knowledge and the operators out there are just changing as in, oh, this is what my boss told me to do before, but no, this is not what we intend to do. We intend to give them that knowledge and that confidence so that if customer were to ask, then they know what is it that is required. Next. So now, just to share with you, one of the largest customers that we have here in Maldives is actually Maldives Airport, all right? It's a pleasure to have worked with them in the last 7 years. And if you may be wondering, why am I displaying this particular chart? Basically, they have more than 280 equipments, and the number is still increasing. They are still trying to get in more and more equipments for them. And as you can see over here, the OEMs that are being used in the airports itself, Cummins, Nissan, Cat, Mercedes, MAN, Dongfeng, John Deere, Kubota, Mitsubishi, Volvo, Deutz, Kobelco. Basically, you have almost all of the major OEMs over here. So what does that tell you? Now, do we have one product for this one, or do we have multiple products for it? The answer will be in the next slide. Because you can see that we actually have this product, which we call it Rubia Works 1000, all right? It actually has more than 200 plus approvals, which is a testament to the product's performance and a testament to a customer's belief. And that is why Maldives Airport has been with us in the last 7 years. So, just a quick snapshot of the first page of this spreadsheet. You can see that it has all this manufacturer's approval. It may be a bit small, all right, but basically we start with Cummins, Deutsche, MTU, even suitable for Komatsu, Hitachi, Caterpillar, and basically we have supplied this product to this market for what, at least 4 or 5 years. However, as I also cover the Mongolia market, we actually supply a lot to the mining side, and this product is able to cater to the mining environment, which is very severe in Mongolia, which is at minus 35 degrees. Of course, here we will never reach zero. We will never reach minus. But it's to tell you how robust this product is to perform in such a hot environment in Maldives, as well as a cold environment in Mongolia. Now, I had a chance to go to visit this resort, Ariadu, all right? And it is actually my pleasure to share with you that they actually have a very old, 15-year-old genset over there. Basically, it is 400 kVA Cummins engine, and it's been operating with our 2 products. They change oil regularly, just like everyone else, almost every 250 hours. But the good thing is this, 15 years old engine, and it's using our product. And to them, they only told me one thing. They have not replaced any of the spare part inside. It's still using original. So this is a good testament to our product, and which I'm proud to say. I'm glad that ELA has actually introduced this product to them. Of course, this is a Marine Expo, so how can I not talk about a marine product, right? So this is our marine product that we also carry over here, and basically it is for fishing or your inland marine as well as coastal shipping. Now, these 2 products, basically, ELA will carry them in their warehouse. I would welcome you to go and visit their warehouse just to see and know for yourself that they would keep adequate stock for your operations. Now, today, the main part of this I actually want to share with you is on ANAC. ANAC is our company program. Basically, it's like a blood test. So this is like a oil test, where we let the oil do the talking. So for example, if any of you all do blood tests before, only few, that means all of you are so young. Come on. Okay, anyway, basically, if you were to test and you find that your blood sugar or your blood cholesterol is high, what do? Right? You either cut down on your sugar intake, you cut down on your fried food or chili and all those things, right? So likewise, in our oil testing program, we do the same. We test the oil, which is like the blood of the engine, and we actually serve to improve your equipment performance and reliability, all right? We also want to reduce unexpected breakdown. Basically, what we're doing is preventive maintenance rather than reactive maintenance, which costs more and costs a lot of stress, especially more so when you're in Maldives. To get parts in, it's a logistic nightmare. Sometimes, it will take, I don't know, even 3 months to get products here. Yeah. So what we intend to do is, with this simple test, we can actually give an assessment of the health of your equipment. We can actually help to prolong your engine life. We can also help to prolong the oil drain interval. Now, just one last part before I end is, do you know that any equipment breakdown can actually cost you up to 9,500 euro? So, I mean, ask yourself this question. If you have a big equipment like a boat or even a genset, do you want to spend this money? 9,500 euro when you have a breakdown? So this is where our oil analysis comes in to support you in your industry. And as I've mentioned, ELA Maldives, the one with the green booth there, is our distributor. So if you have any questions after this, we'll be more than happy to address your questions. With that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Victor Yi. That was a very intuitive presentation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, next we have our last segment for the afternoon, which is a panel discussion. And the topic is dive certification and education. I would like to kindly invite the panelists for the panel discussion. Owner and co-founder Mutbura Dive Center, Zuna Naseem. Founder Ocean Warriors Institute, Dr. Shama Abdul Hamid. Managing Director Dive Desk Maldives, Ahmad Ashraf. Managing Director Freedive Maldives, Fahd Faiz. And the co-owner and Vice President of Product Development Raid International, Paul Vincent Toomer. And to moderate this panel, I'd like to kindly invite on stage from National Boating Association of Maldives, Ahmed Ibrahim. I'd like to kindly invite the panelists once again. Ms. Zuna Naseem, owner and co-founder Mutbura Dive Center. Dr. Shama Abdul Hamid, founder of Ocean Warriors Institute. Adam Ashraf, Managing Director, Dive Desk Maldives. Fahd Faiz, Managing Director, Freedive Maldives. And Paul Vincent Toomer, co-founder and Vice President of Product Development, Raid International. Adam Ashraf. I'd like to kindly invite the Managing Director of Freedive Maldives, Fahd Faiz.
Good afternoon and welcome to all of you. We've got Paul Vincent from Raid International, Dr. Sharma from Ocean Warriors, Zuna from Modubula, and Adam Ashraf from Dive Desk. We will have Fahad Faiz joining us in a short while. First of all, I would ask Zuna, what initiatives have you taken to encourage the locals to join the dive industry over the past few years?
Um, Probably the best initiative would be to open a center where local can access for their training. So we have started with Modubura Dive Center at Vilimale, and we can do training from very basic to professional level, instructor level over there. I think that would be probably the best initiative in terms of training locals that I have taken.
And what sort of challenges do you face in uh, maintaining the establishment?
To be honest, space is the biggest challenge, as we don't own land space here. We have very high overhead in running a center over there. So probably that is the biggest challenge. So I hope one day as training institutes working very much to train locals, we will be given an opportunity maybe to have a land space for a longer term through a bid or something like that. That is my hope.
Thank you, Zona. Uh, Anna, as a course director and founder of Ocean Warriors, uh, you're clearly committed to education, and what sort of qualities do you want in a good instructor?
Thank you for the question. I just need to add a little thing that changed after I think the bio and everything was written. I'm now the SSI area manager for the Maldives, so
Sorry.
I'm representing SSI at the moment. And but I'm still an instructor trainer in that regard. So the qualities that I always look for, I'm sure we all agree on this. These are, professionalism, and also a kind of work ethic. That is something that we need to ensure that our professionals have that, being able to stick to the standards and do the right thing, have the right judgment, make the right judgment call, whatever the situation is. And I think we will, all training agencies represented here agree on that very, very strongly. We are determined to maintain that and also make sure, any pros that we certify or we train have these built in basically during the training. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh, Ashraf, uh, what inspired you to start Dive Desk? And what has been the biggest challenge in growing it for you?
Thank you for this opportunity. The inspiration is purely from my father, who is one of the first Maldivian who started training locals and empowering them in the industry. So the inspiration came from my father, and what he wants is more dive professionals in the industry uh, to lead the local dive industry and make the best out of our resources as locals. So my inspiration is to continue that, what my father was doing, and what I am doing exactly now is opening a dive center at the capital city, targeting locals and conducting as much as instructor development course I can, and promoting and advocating and conducting awareness programs. Because as I believe, there is no other, the next best thing as a local to start a business would be using our resources. And that is what as locals we should focus on. And these resources are unique, and we can make a lot out of this, and we can be leaders in protecting these reefs, and we can be environmental ambassadors. As locals, we can lead the dive industry and make a really big impact. And that is my motivation, and so far, I believe as a course director, now I have a great opportunity to play a big role and make a big impact in the industry.
Thank you, Asare. Paul, can you tell us a bit more about your experiences in diving in various parts of the world?
Ooh, wow, now you've got me. I get asked this quite a lot. So I have to split it into different sections. So first of all, I'll start with recreational. If someone said, where's the best, are you talking about the best dive sites and the best diving, or?
Not in that regard. Rather, what sort of approaches to training, and how has the experiences influenced your training attitudes?
As an agency?
Yeah.
Okay, so, wow, that's a bloody hard question. Oh, excuse my French. I've been very, very fortunate that when I started to dive, I got involved with some of the best industry professionals. My open water scuba instructor is a guy called Phil Short, who works for various projects around the world. So I got to learn with him. I got to do my PADI course director in 2001. So I learned their system. I worked for SSI for a while, INTD, TDI. And basically, at RAID, we kind of merged everything together. Obviously, you have to build a training system that will work globally. So, the Maldives has a specific kind of toolbox that it needs applying here, right? So presently, at the moment, there's no point us really making a big push on technical diving over here because it's not allowed at the moment. But certainly, and imagine pushing dry suit out here. So we face all of these challenges globally as to what we need to develop for those regions. And obviously, being here this week, I've learned so much about what we need to develop for this region. This region is going to become incredibly important globally. Everybody's talking about the Maldives in Europe. It's actually, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively short-haul flight. So working with the team in RAID Maldives now, the big thing now is to develop products for this region. Does that kind of answer where you are?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you very much. And Fahad, you have started and pretty much built freediving into something important here. I would just like to ask you, what has influenced your take on freediving?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I started freediving when I was a teenager. Even though I was not a certified freediver, we were always freediving with our friends. I did a little bit of research when I wanted to do some deeper dives. Then I came to know about freedive certification. So I was lucky enough to get trained as a freediving instructor. After I got trained, I realized that how much we neglected the safety part of it. When we were off spearfishing or lobster hunting with our friends, it was mainly about depth. Safety didn't even occur to us. So when we started off courses, I saw more and more Maldivians getting interested in freediving and coming to do courses. And what I saw with them was me 10 years ago. They were so hooked up on depth that safety didn't matter to them. So in our courses, we are much more focused in teaching them about the safety part of it. Depth is also important, but you have to return home after your dives. So we focus on very much on the safety part of it as now. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you very much, Fahad. Zona, you have been a strong advocate of getting kids to start, and you have been a strong advocate of conservation, environmental sustainability. What is the importance of teaching them young, and how has it really benefited your work with conservation and environmental ecology?
First of all, I love teaching kids. I think for a country like Maldives, the kids' playground should be the ocean. That's a big belief that I have. And it's very sad when we usually do a lot of snorkeling programs for children and for school children. High school kid come and say that I can't swim or I have never been to the ocean before. Probably that's the saddest thing as a local, as a professional industry, you can hear it. So the initiative when we move into Male area where we can approach more locals and school children, that is one thing that from Mudbura we are giving, we run as part of our CSR actually. All the snorkeling sessions we conduct, we don't charge, but it's a happiness that brings us when we can take someone into the water. But I think this can change through the parents. So whenever we have a session for kids, we always make sure there is a session for the parents, because children don't have the fear factor in them. It's the parents who put it into them. Yeah? And also, if you really talk about environment and protecting the ocean, how can someone protect the ocean or protect the reef when you have never seen it before? We have to change that. It is important that the kids should go in the water, see the reef. They should know that corals are alive. If we step on it, we are killing it. These are minor things that kids should know. And bottom line is you have to fall in love with something to protect it. If you don't fall in love, for example, so many kids have pets at their home. They make sure they feed them on time, put them into bed, all these things. Similarly, I think we have to make the kids fall in love with the ocean. And it's very important for a country like Maldives. That's what I believe.
Thank you. And Anna, in your experience, what are the common misconceptions regarding dive certification here in Maldives?
I think one of the common things, and carry on from what Zuna also said, is that it's very hard to earn a certification, and that is entirely untrue. It's so easy, and as someone who teaches a lot and who teaches a lot of locals, and I always say, for locals, for Maldivians, diving comes naturally. Fahud will agree, free diving also comes very naturally. It's so easy to teach. The only thing that happens is, when you come to the book part, the theory learning, that is where, people step back a bit thinking, oh, it's going to be very hard, it's like going back to school. But no, we teach diving, in the best classroom ever, in the Maldives, in the water, at the beach, and it's not like going to regular school. So for us, I think to teach diving is easy, and to earn a certification is also easy for Maldivians, and even for our international market as well. It's just spending the time, giving a little bit of thought, and nowadays, such as with SSI, we have all the e-learning. It's so easy. You can learn while you're sitting on the beach, relaxing, or when you're doing something else like having breakfast. You can still learn from the tablet or even from the mobile phone. So for us, I think in terms of getting people to learn to do what they need to do, it's just very straightforward. Tell them what has to be done. You just read this part, come and join us in the water, or do the water session and come and go home and do the quiz or whatever. So dive certification is easy and it's accessible, and nothing needs to put you off of that. And following up from one of the other dialogue we just had, for us as locals, for us as Maldivians, you need to progress. step by step, reach a point where you are the one who is actually teaching, making sure that your younger ones or the peers around you are getting certified. So getting certified is easy. Sticking to the standards for that certification is also very doable. There's no such thing as being too cool for school, because it is cool to stick to the standards. It's cool to do as you should be doing. And it's safer, and you can keep on diving more and more. I mean, I might have a lot of gray hair in my hair, but I'm still not going to be stopping diving anytime soon. So that's why I dive safely, to ensure I can keep on diving. So that's how I also teach my students. You don't need to do diving for 2 years and then stop and do something else. No, it has to be a continuous, it has to be a passion that you keep on following. And that's how I teach. It's a continuous developmental process. Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody should be stopping you.
Thank you. And as a passionate environmentalist, how do you incorporate sustainability to your operations at Dive Desk?
First of all, we spend a lot of our time advocating about the damages that we have done to our reefs. And we also conduct regular cleanup events, and we try to use those data to educate people and to make a change. And to do that, in the past few years, from the cleanups that we have done, we've noticed that cleanup is not a solution. Because no matter how many cleanups you do, the trash never reduces. It keeps on piling. So I strongly believe cleaning up by a group of people is totally not a solution for the problem. It is more about educating people. And as divers, I believe we are part of the solution, because we are lucky enough to take people and show them what is happening down there. And the sad thing is, those people who haven't seen underwater and where all those trash end up and what it does to our reef have no idea. And therefore, it is hard for them to understand and love our reef. I can tell you, when I started diving with my father a long time back, there was no specific place for diving. Every reef is a dive spot. We can make our divers happy on every reef, because there's sharks, there's corals, there's colors, and it's untouched. But now it's scary that some of the dive sites are dead completely. And if we don't take action, we will lose what we have. And that is very scary. And for that reason, we focus a lot of our time and energy in protecting the reef, because at the end of the day, that is the way we make money. That is the way we survive. We handle daily needs. So for all, and we should actually understand how much we are dependent on those reefs. If those reefs are not there, our islands won't be there, our beaches won't be there, we can't sail, we can't dive, It's scary. So I think it's a big part of divers and as a stakeholders, everybody to play their role and make a difference. Because at the end of the day, we are environment. It's not that we are out of the environment, we are killing ourselves. The world will recover, we will die. And therefore, we have to respect. We can't take the world, the ocean, and the reef for granted as if we have another planet. So this is important, and in future we will play more. We will conduct more awareness programs and do as much as we can to protect the environment.
Paul, I just would like to ask that I know you've covered quite a lot of it in the presentation as well. Uh, what sort of new technologies are coming into dive training? And since you are an established owner of a large business now, what sort of inspiration can you provide? What sort of advice can you provide to budding divers who want to continue towards the business side of things as well?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you three. That's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to go on a side bit, first of all. I love your conversation about loving the ocean. So one of the technologies that we've recognized is that children need to come to school. I know that doesn't sound like a technology, but it is, because if our kids don't dive, they don't learn to love the ocean. And the ocean is actually our office, right? And this planet is so badly named, it should be called water, not Earth, right? Okay. So one of the things I did, I was doing a tri dive for my son's birthday. And he read the tri-dive manual and he went, "You're supposed to be like this technological giant with your information technology and everything." And he said, "This is written for like someone who's like 18 years old." So my son sat down with a computer and rewrote the tri-dive program, right? And he's rewriting open water at the moment. Going to technologies, obviously rebreather springs to mind first of all, doesn't it? Okay. And we are seeing immense moves in rebreather technology. Rebreather is extremely challenging as a training agency because if the divers get it wrong, the agency pays the price for that. And I think here in the Maldives, you must be seeing an increase in the technology of rebreather. When it comes to our company as technology, the first thing that we wanted to do was exactly like my four friends up here on stage are talking about, is what's our environmental impact, first of all, okay? So RAID being completely digital, no one-time use, only plastics. The only plastic that we sell are underwater cue cards. There's nothing else that we sell. Our local distributors provide the apparel. We don't ship apparel around the world at all. So in terms of Earth technologies, that is at the forefront of RAID, is trying to keep our impact as a company down on the world. In actual fact, I was talking to a friend of mine about an initiative that they had that we wanted to join. And his partner is intimate with my company, but he wasn't very intimate with RAID. And he said, "Well, you know, you have to fulfill all of these guidelines to join this project, this initiative." And his friend looks at him and he said, "Right now," and I know that the other agencies have really risen to the occasion, but at that moment, RAID was probably the most technologically advanced training agent on the planet with the least, we call it the carbon finprint. It was the least imprint on the world. In terms of what we're going to see in diver training, of course, the manufacturers are doing amazing jobs, and we have to rise to the occasion of those. So as training agencies, we're always looking at our manuals, updating the images of computers. And I mean, you think a regulator is just like a lever and a diaphragm. It's not. What goes on inside those things now is quite incredible, isn't it? I was talking to someone about the exhaust on a regulator and how many little things it's got in it and how it spins and all of this kind of stuff. And we have to rise to that. And then our instructors and our instructor trainers also rise to it again. Technology is not going to stop. And right now it's exponential, right? Apps are doing training. Your phone is doing training. Your tablet's doing training. Your laptop's doing training. It's just utterly unbelievable now how we are. And of course, and I dare say that my esteemed colleagues on stage here, the pandemic challenged us to non-face-to-face training, which we rose to, I think, immensely commendably with our free learning platform, which I know many of the other training agencies now have access to their product. We developed a bunch of products where you actually didn't need to be with your instructor, which I think is amazing for destinations like the Maldives. So for example, you've got a guy coming out to do a course over here, and nitrox would be kind of advisable for them. We've developed an actual virtual nitrox analyzer, which is an app. So you can sit on Zoom or Teams or whatever with your instructor. You've done all the academics. They go through their presentation and everything. They've got a real analyzer. You've got an app. And then when you arrive with your instructor, the final test is, here's a real analyzer. And you've done it all while they sat freezing their bums off in England. So I could sit here for like 4 hours and discuss these technologies because I work with explorers who daily are coming up with new methods of protecting our planet. You know, we talk about like Maria and what Maria's doing, and then we talk about our friends in Mexico. Did you know they're building a train line on top of the cenotes? Did you know that chlorine is permeating in there? This has direct effect on all of us, not just divers, it's instructors, it's trainers, it's agencies. How do we deal with this? And I thought your words were brilliant. You know, this is our office, and we need to love it and look after it. And hopefully my company, as technologically as it can, is trying to instill that.
Thank you very much. Fahad, your work with NEVA was truly inspiring, and I just want to see how it has brought about change within the dive industry with regards to instructors, and how NEVA has promoted freediving in the country.
Yes, one of the main causes of NEVA was the awareness point of limiting the use of single-use plastic. I believe we instructors has a huge role to play as role models for the growing divers in the country. We have a huge responsibility to teach our students to be more environmentally respectful, but I do feel that we can do a little bit more. I mean, it's very common to see an instructor telling their student to be respectful, don't throw plastic to the ocean, but mostly the course is only limited to this one sentence. And don't get me wrong, the students are very respectful when they're diving and when they're on the boat. But after they come off the boat and in the land, their actions are a bit different. So I believe the instructors should really want this to happen. Take a few minutes and do their own research and like talk to the students that their actions in land could hugely affect the environment as well. The environment is not only limited to the ocean itself. Something we throw away on the land can easily be blown into the ocean, since we are surrounded by water. So also a little bit more on hands-on and interactive teachings to be involved in the courses. Something like we have just started in our courses is whenever we are diving or training in the water, if we see anything floating about, the students should collect it. And we give points to these students. At the end of the course, the student with the most points gets a reward. We could introduce something like that when we teach. This is more hands-on and something new. So as instructors, we are not limited to the manuals and the PowerPoint slides. We can always do more to help the course. Thank you.
Thank you, Fahad. Anna, since you have been in the medical profession, and you are a trained medical practitioner, and I just would like to ask you, what has made you transition to primarily a dive professional, and what sort of advice can you give to the other professionals who would probably be looking to go for a transition as well?
All right, thank you for that question. Actually, I don't know. I don't know the answer. Because for me, it is basically the same thing. You know, I went into medicine because I like to help people, and also I like to know how things work. So I like to know how the body works and what makes it function, what kind of problems can arise in it. So in the same way, I have that kind of inquiry mind. That's how I actually ended up being a instructor and also a course director, because I want to know more and just push that boundary bit by bit. So if I want to tell anybody about what they should be doing or not, I would always say, keep an open mind. That's it. Keep your mind open and always learn something from whatever interaction you have, even with it. If it's a person who is selling you a drink, or if it's somebody who's teaching you in a classroom, keep your mind open. Don't have preconceptions. Do not be set in stone, so that you are always open to suggestions and open to finding out more. And for me, one what you say, one career does not preclude you from following the next one. Because diving, for me, it's always been part of my life, and it always will be, inshallah. But teaching diving is a passion for me. It's a passion because I think when you train good instructors, when you train good course directors, that means your impact on everybody else that follows is huge. So like Fahad was saying, if you train your instructors to embody the values that they teach, it's not just lines on paper. It has to be a thing that you live by. And you can't just switch it on and off when you're in front of students. It has to be your lifestyle. So if you're doing that kind of good job, that means you have that impact on the students that that instructor is going to be teaching as well. So for us, this environment, as Asa said, there is no plan B. This is it. We are on this planet, and whatever we have done so far has not been helping the planet very much. So it's time that we make a stand as instructors, instructor trainers, as divers, or just people breathing air. We need to act now, and we also have to live this out in the proper manner, not just do it on social media for that photo when you pick up a piece of garbage and take a photo, oh, look, I did this. No, it shouldn't be like that. It's not something that you need to declare. It's something you need to be doing all the time. Every breath you take, it has to be on this path. And that is the thing, for me, that career switch, it wasn't much of a switch because I was diving way before I was studying medicine or anything. So I will, inshallah, I will keep on diving, and also I will use whatever knowledge I have had so far in whatever field that I have explored, and use that to train my instructors or instructor trainers to, make them feel this impact, feel the hurt that the earth is suffering at the moment from our actions, and make them pass it on to their students so that everybody acts. I think some of you might have seen that all of us on this stage, we did not like to have the plastic water bottles here. Why? It's not just for show. It is something we do. And I think, the organizers and also all the visitors and all the people at the stalls should also be thinking about it. Every action, you have to embody whatever that you're trying to pass on to your kids, to your students, to your peers. So make it count. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. As a last question, I would ask Zuna and Asare on teaching kids and how it has, teaching them safety. What has really been your inspiration, or basically getting them to really grasp the concepts of safety, and what sort of success stories can you share with us with regards to getting people to advance their work within the dive industry?
Thank you. I am very fortunate to travel from north to south of the Maldives and do a lot of trainings away from Male. And every time I go to an island, I take the chance to visit the schools and gather the school kids, and I just want to talk them about scuba diving. Yeah? And at one point I realized when I say the word scuba diving, they all, for some reason, associate it with tourism and, But scuba diving is a huge industry. And what I am doing now is because we need scuba divers in marine research field, we need scuba divers in photography, videography, we need scuba divers doing medical studies, we need scuba divers in developmental stage, we need scuba divers, and that need we should teach the kids that becoming a scuba diver does not only mean taking tourists and showing them underwater, but they can play a huge role in the development of the country. And plus, these other sectors that scuba diving is required in their career development stage, we should mention them this, that they have the opportunity not just go to a resort, they have the opportunity to work in the fisheries ministry, they have the opportunity to work in the marine research center, or go to tuna research. There are so many sectors where scuba diving is really needed. And we should spread that news with the kids and set and give them the idea how to set their mind, and if they have the interest, to become scuba divers. So teaching scuba diving to kids have a really big impact. I've been introduced to scuba diving as a kid because of my father, and when I finished my school, I already was in a stage thinking that what else can I do with scuba diving, you know? Is it only taking tourists out? So if you mention scuba diving to kids and tell them the opportunities they have, that will bring a very big difference in the development stage of the youth, actually. I think Zuna might have something to add.
Adding to what Asare has said just now, I think probably a success thing is that we are educating the future generation. It starts from kids. If we can educate them properly, we are hoping that they will be the change makers for the future. And I believe ocean or learning about the ocean should be in the school curriculums in the Maldives. It is very, very important because you should not, in Maldives, how can you teach a reef in a diagram? You should, when we have the ocean beside us, why not bring them to the ocean every day as part of their class? I'm sure there are so many kids complaining they don't want to go to school because they are spending 7 hours in the classroom sitting at a desk. Yeah, but how about maybe take 1 day of the week as an ocean day and bring them and let them snorkel, let them be in the ocean, let them take the fear out of their head. And I think this is great because they will be away from their smartphones. They will start to communicate with others. We can avoid or we can get rid of a lot of problems such as depression on kids. Nowadays we have all these things. I think ocean is the healing ground for all of this. We should be doing this, I think. And I will share one of the best things that happened. In Maldives, there was, from Education Ministry, there was an initiative about Farukoe at one point. And on this program, every child should see the reef once. This was a great program run by the Education Ministry. And we got the opportunity to take a lot of kids to see the reef. And at the end of the program, we invited 40 mothers from Willingili to do the same program. And only one mother have snorkel before. And we managed to take 40 of them for a snorkel just to see the reef once. And the good news is, since that day, they are so much willing to send their children to us because they have seen ocean is a safe ground. They have seen that it's something they can it's somewhere they can have fun. Myself as a mother, I think I also strictly emphasize on safety. Like even I go snorkeling, even when I go for snorkeling with my kids, even though they are very good swimmers, I always make it a point I take a boogie board along with me. That is just in case if they get tired, they are something. So as parents also, when you are in the ocean, there are safety measures you can take to avoid incidents. So you should know that it is a safe ground. If you are driving a car on the road, you take safety measures. So we should put this image that ocean is not a dangerous place. Whatever you do, wherever you go, if you follow the safety aspects where you are
Yeah,
sorry.
shall we wait for a little bit? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. I just wanted to add just a few things about some of our success stories from the past 9 years at Dive Desk. We were a very humble, small dive center 9 years ago, and with a very little resources for training locals. But with the difficulties and everything together, the past 9 years of training locals to this industry, and we have seen our students leading dive shops. We have seen our students doing marine research work, working fisheries ministry, playing a big role in projects. And we have seen our students establishing their own business, making their own setup, being young entrepreneurs. And these are what I believe the success of the work that we are doing. And just from 9 years, in a very short period of time, we have seen an impact from the work that we have been doing. And I believe if there are more people and more like-minded people working together, will make actually a bigger difference than what we are seeing here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your inputs. I would just like to say, yeah, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. I just thought to add something, even though the panel is about dive certification and training, I just thought I should add that as Maldivians, something that we don't do enough is dive for fun. And it doesn't matter if you choose a career in whatever, you're an accountant, you're whatever, you can still dive. So we need to enjoy this environment that we have been so lucky to be born into, and not make it a specific thing that only some people do, those people who don't go to school or something. It has to be something everybody enjoys, because it doesn't take much. It's a short ride, or get on a boat and you go diving. So getting a basic certification to allow you to dive independently, on the boat is enough. So Maldivians should dive more. And then we can go into all the other areas that Asra was saying. Make it a part of our lives, and that should be done a lot more for the Maldivians here. This is what we are getting tourists to see, so we should actually have a look ourselves to see what we are promoting or we're selling. Yeah, I thought I should just add that.
And it's the best paid job in the Maldives.
Exactly.
Become a dive instructor.
Thank you very much. I think the biggest take from today's panel is get your kids into diving and start it early. It's never too late to start. Thank you very much for
Go
everything.
with your kids, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Don't forget the card.